Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be looking ahead, previewing the big matches taking place on the weekend. Liverpool plays host to Crystal Palace. And then we have a big clash. Arsenal taking on Aston Villa. Now, joining me this evening to preview these matches, we have returning to the podcast, Christophe.
Good to be back again, viewers.
Yes, indeed, Christophe, another midweek of Champions League action. And, Arsenal was in action, Man City, both games ending in draws, scoring draws, high scoring games, and lots of excitement for the fans. I mean, quickly, Christophe, give us your take. What were your thoughts on that Arsenal Bayern Munich matchup and, Man City versus Real Madrid?
Two very interesting ties. I don't think either tie went the way people expected. People expected Arsenal to beat Bayern. People expected Man City to beat Madrid. Uh, with the Arsenal versus Bayern, it's obvious that Bayern knew that they could not outplay Arsenal, so they came to sit back and play on the counter attack. With the Man City Madrid game, I saw where, I thought it was a relatively more even game than it should have been. We saw where Man City scored, what I would describe as three sublime goals. Even if you would say the Vardiol goal was, very lucky, very unexpected for a defender, but three sublime goals. Madrid, I would say, scored two sublime goals and got their first goal was a deflected effort into goal, but overall very impressive games from both teams. Not the result either team would want. Arsenal will now have to travel to Germany to beat them, but the mere fact that Bayern don't think they can beat Arsenal is, maybe a plus for them, could also be a negative. They could be playing at home using different tactics. They think they have the home crowd support. We have to see. Um, I thought Madrid, while Man City was, clearly the better team to Madrid, Madrid played with the swagger of what I would say champions. They played like a team expecting to win regardless of opposition. I think that coupled with the tactics of Carlo Ancelotti, as well as what I would describe as Madrid just having individual player brilliance, because really and truly that's the only way to describe how they got those goals. Individual player brilliance. Um, kind of has put them through. Pep Guardiola will have some work to do. Both ties currently could go either way, but
But
not the
what's your
results.
call? Who are you calling to go to? Are you calling Arsenal over Bayern? I mean, spill the beans.
Now, my opinion is Arsenal have put themselves in a bad position. They should have won, 2-0. But, jittery nerves from the defenders, it looks like to me, kind of got the better of them once the defenders settled. Bayern was very much restricted. I mean, they still got chances here and there, but, they look more restricted. Bayern, clearly terrified of Saka, doubling up and quadrupling on him. It was very
But what's
interesting.
your call, Christoph? What,
Michael.
yeah, what's your call? Who do you think will come away winners and move on to the semifinals of the Champions League?
Well, I still want Arsenal to win. I want Arsenal to move on to the semifinals as an Arsenal fan. But right now, given that the second leg is going to be played in Munich, I am giving the edge to Bayern. Given they came to Arsenal, they got two goals. Arsenal have a lot to do. Edge to Bayern. At the moment, I would like Arsenal to go through.
Oh, so you're so,
I think
so
I
as
think
an Arsenal
Arsenal.
fan, naturally you're supporting Arsenal to go through, but from a strictly footballing point of view, you're giving the edge to Bayern, you're saying then.
Right, having gone to
Sentimentally
Arsenal,
Arsenal, football, brains, Bayern.
Bayern have the edge at the moment. Not to say that Arsenal can't walk away with the win, I just give the edge to Bayern having done the job away from home. Done a good job away from
Ah,
home.
very cagey call there, Christophe. So what about the Real Madrid Man City? Who are you calling over in that tie?
Um, I'm still going to go with Man City. I thought Man City were better. I think for Man City to win, however, despite how good I think they were, those brilliant goals, they do need to find a tactic or change something in order to unleash Haaland because we saw where Rudiger had him shackled again,
Yeah, I mean we
following him
spoke
around.
yeah, we spoke about that in the preview that Rudiger has shown defenders not only this season but also when they clashed last year as well. Even though
Indeed.
Man City on that occasion got the better of Real Madrid, the performance of Rudiger was a spectacle. He was a standout defender versus Haaland, and to me, he pretty much gave all teams the blueprint on how to really deal with Haaland and really limit him as a striker, as a goal scorer. And again, he displayed that. So last season was obviously no fluke, and he has somewhat figured out the secret sauce in terms of locking down Haaland. And again, that was on display. Again, if only we will see Rudiger put in this sort of performance in a German shirt, then Germany could possibly make some noise in the Euros. But Christoph, we have to move on. I mean, viewers and subscribers, we're really looking at previewing the EPL. So Christoph, we're gonna kick things off. Liverpool played today and lost to Atalanta 3-0, Christoph. They now host Crystal Palace. Give us your take on that game. How do you see
Ah,
that one going? Liverpool versus Crystal Palace at Anfield.
that game, the result was somewhat shocking. Um, to me, it's either an indicator of one of two things. Either Klopp thought that he would just beat Atalanta, and as such, we saw where he dropped a couple of key players here. So he thought maybe he had the advantage going into this game and would have come away with the win, whether it be 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1. So, and he thought Liverpool would have won. Or this is a case where he has said to himself and his players, hey, I don't really care about the Europa League. Let's go and win the Premier League. So, um, I'm not sure, but either way, I think it is quite embarrassing to lose to Atalanta in such a manner, to lose to a team that is fifth in the Serie A and has only won one of their last five games and lost three and draw one. Liverpool should have done better, should have been a better performance. I don't know if it's a case where they're focusing on the Premier League or they had just expected it to be an easy game. But if it's a case where they thought it would have been an easy game, they have given themselves a lot of work to do in the second leg. And Liverpool
Indeed.
would
I
have.
mean, to me, that leg is over. I mean, I don't see Liverpool really coming back from 3-0 down, playing the second way, the second leg away from home. That tie is done and dusted. Of all the European ties, I think that one, the winners have been decided in the first leg. But yeah, definitely a disappointing performance. Although, as you mentioned, the interesting thing was that Klopp rotated the team. What you would classify as your starting 11. Much of the fringe players got a run out, and the starting 11, majority of the starting 11 was preserved. Of course, at home, that would have been the time to rotate, in all honesty. But, the fringe players really didn't step up to the plate. This time around, started off with a goalkeeping error. And from there, it was all downhill. But again, Liverpool conceding the first goal, Christoph, and I have been speaking about this all season. I mean, you concede the first goal. Again, I believe Liverpool have now played 50, maybe about 52, 53 games in all competitions. And I believe in about 21 of those games, Liverpool have conceded the first goal. So at some point in time, your luck is going to run out. And this was a classic example of one's luck running out. But for me, I think this is just a carryover from that Manchester United 2-2 draw. Liverpool have been lacking in that killer instinct in the latter part of the season. And as such, this was a clear display of that. I mean, all hopes now must be with trying to overtake Arsenal at the top of the league in the EPL. And of course, the games are coming thick and fast. And the next game up is really Crystal Palace at home. So, talk to us about that game, Christophe. Can Crystal Palace do what Atalanta did and shock the Premier League by getting a win versus Liverpool?
Um, I do indeed think it's possible to win. I I, I did not expect Atalanta to beat Liverpool in any circumstance, whether they drop players or not.
And to
But
hold them scoreless as well,
and to prevent them scoring, despite the fact that the big guns did come on later on,
right? Rescue
um,
mission.
attempted. But I don't think they should abandon that avenue, cause let's say that this poor form or this run of bad results carries over into this Crystal Palace game. Now you are out of what? All four
You're
competitions that
out
you
of.
had, uh, uh, all four
Indeed, indeed.
competitions you had been planning to win.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how tight these competitions are. I mean, one bad result and pretty much you are out of it. And it really, Liverpool cannot afford to drop any more points in the EPL. So for this game versus Crystal Palace, it has to be all hands on deck. And it's hard for me to see Liverpool not winning this game, but as you say, all things are possible, and that's why we play the game. But looking at it from a Crystal Palace point of view, Christophe, let's take a little focus on Crystal Palace. What is it that Crystal Palace will have to do to stop this Liverpool team?
Well, Liverpool generates a lot of chances, right? The problem for Liverpool, apart from the defending and the attack having to bail them out, is that Liverpool generates these chances, but they're not being taken. And a lot of these chances are, gilt-edged chances, should be scored, certain goals, but somehow they miss them. So if Crystal Palace want to defeat Liverpool, it's a matter of taking the chances that are presented to you and then shutting them out, right? Liverpool seems to me that they are weaker on maybe the right side of their centre back pair. So I would try attacking there. Whether it is that you're going to try and, beat them on the flanks and send your crosses into that right side of Liverpool defense is where they seem to be weakest. And try and take advantage of the fact that Alisson is out. So if you need to, pepper the goal, pepper the goal. If a chance is presented to you, you need to try and take it. That is how they beat Liverpool. Crystal Palace has been poor this season. They've been form has been spotty. I don't believe they've been any of the top four this season. I don't think. So, if they want, they might not be playing for anything, but if you want to get a win and hold some pride, this is how you beat Liverpool at the moment.
Definitely some interesting thoughts there. Thoughts I really can't disagree with. The ball is round. Liverpool is going through a bad spell at the moment. Klopp has been chopping and changing of late, and that consistency in the defensive line is lacking. News this week is that a few players who were out injured have now been training full time with the current squad. So Jota is up on training, was on the bench today in the Europa League. Trent Arnold-Alexander also on the bench in the Europa League. So these players are working their way back as well. And Alisson is also up on training and was on the bench also. So possibly we may be seeing a close to full strength Liverpool team rolling out for the game versus Crystal Palace. It would not surprise me if Alisson makes his return versus Crystal Palace. Trent may get a substitute appearance as well. Also Jota. So Liverpool, a number of players coming back from injury. The question is, will these players create a disruption in terms of the chemistry which have been built up over time or in their absence? That is the question. How will Klopp reintegrate these players into the starting level and into the team in general? Will they be a disruptive influence or will they elevate the team to another level? That is indeed the question. And this is where good man management will come into play. This is where a manager like Klopp has to really show his mettle so to speak, and his pedigree in terms of getting these players back up and running, knowing very well that you cannot afford to drop any points. Luckily, this game is at Anfield, and Anfield has been a happy hunting ground for Liverpool in recent times, and laugh averages would suggest, having no loss to Atalanta at Anfield, the laugh averages would suggest that they should bounce back versus this Crystal Palace team. We saw Man City getting the better of Crystal Palace last week 4-2. So they do have uh, what should I say, finishing quality in the team. It's a question, as you mentioned, can they keep Liverpool out? Of course, Liverpool will be looking to dominate the ball as well, and Crystal Palace will be looking to break on the counter. So as you mentioned, the Achilles heel is stopping Liverpool from scoring and really taking the chances yourself, because you will get chance against this Liverpool defense, Christophe. Teams are getting chances. And it's just a matter, as you say, of finishing. Will they finish? Will they put this Liverpool team under pressure? If this Liverpool team goes down 1-0, will the pressure start to tell on this team, knowing very well that another defeat is pretty much the end of any sort of title hopes. So it will be a very interesting game. It will not be a straightforward game, and all eyes will be on this match, seeing that Arsenal plays on Monday. So the league leaders will know their fate going into their match. Possibly Liverpool could surpass them at the top of the table if they were to get the better of Crystal Palace. Also Man City, and then it will be up to Arsenal on Monday versus Aston Villa to really reclaim their position at the top of the league. So it's an interesting week ahead for us, Christoph. Very interesting week, and with Liverpool faltering, any sort of upset could really set the cat amongst the pigeon if Crystal Palace was to create an upset in this one. But in terms of your call for this game, though, Christoph, what's your call and how do you see this one playing out? Liverpool versus Crystal Palace.
Well, my call would be I expect Liverpool to win. I expect them to bounce back. I would go with a 3-1 win to Liverpool.
3-1 win to Liverpool. I can't disagree with the call for a win. Definitely, I do expect Liverpool to bounce back with a win, especially in front of their home fans. I think it's gonna be a higher scoring game, in my opinion. I don't believe Liverpool defense is showing any signs of improving currently, and I'm gonna go with a tight 3-2 win for Liverpool. Indeed, it would not surprise me one bit if Crystal Palace was to go a goal up or even go 2 goals up for Liverpool to rally and come from behind to take this one. So for me, it's going to be a very tight, a very up and down, a very dramatic, possibly a last minute goal for Liverpool, but coming out victors in that one, 3-2. But let's keep the ball rolling, Christoph. The next big match up on the weekend is really Arsenal versus Aston Villa. Arsenal joining midweek versus Bayern Munich. And in the Europa League, Europa Conference League, I should say, Aston Villa running away one winners in their match. So they are coming off a victory, Arsenal coming off a draw, with pressure mounting depending on results over the weekend. This game, Arsenal versus Aston Villa, taking place on a Monday.
No,
Arsenal
Sunday.
would be familiar Sunday.
Yeah, this
Arsenal would
Sunday.
be familiar with the results. So, what's your take on this game, Christopher? How do you see this one playing out?
Um, well, this is a must-win game for Arsenal. Every game going forward, if they want to be champions, they want to win the league, is a must-win game for them. So I'm expecting Arsenal to come and play a controlled game. Won't be any frantic end-to-end stuff. Arsenal will try to dominate, try to control the game, and try to score I mean, they'll try to score as many goals as possible, but they'll just want the win, regardless of how it comes at this point. It's gonna be 2-0, 2-1. They don't care as long as they win. Um, Aston Villa will also want this win because they need to get back into the top four, and get that Champions League spot. I'm expecting Aston Villa to employ maybe similar tactics to a Bayern Munich or a Porto and try to hit Arsenal on the counter attack. I am expecting Arsenal to play similar to how they played at Bayern, where they would be trying to press Aston Villa in a mid block. I would say they won't be pressing as high because they don't want to leave themselves open to the counter attacking of Aston Villa. They've done well so far this season, but I'm expecting that Arsenal are going to play cautious, but will be looking and will be hunting for that win, whether it be one goal or two.
Definitely, this game is going to be one which I believe will be very tactical. Emery Christophe, the Aston Villa manager, returning to his former club Arsenal, and could he put a spanner in the wheels of this Arsenal bus? He will
Uh,
definitely be motivated to do so because, as you mentioned, Aston Villa is really chasing down a Champions League spot. And at the moment, Spurs is slightly ahead of them. And Aston Villa cannot afford to give up any further ground. Otherwise, that fourth spot may be slipping out of their grasp. So for sure, this Aston Villa team will be motivated to get a result versus this Arsenal team. And of course, Aston Villa did better Arsenal in the return leg earlier in the season. So this team does have the pedigree to get one over on Arsenal. And this is one of those games we spoke about that would be a big test, Christoph, for Arsenal. Uh, Emery with players in form, players with the likes of a Watkins getting on the score sheet again today, and of course had scored last week in their previous EPL fixture. So Watkins is red hot in front of goal. Of course, they have the pacey Leon Bailey. Magin is now back up and running after serving his match bans for a red card. The only notable absentee, Christoph, would be Douglas Luiz, who picked up a fifth yellow card in their last game, and he is ruled out being suspended for this one. He could be a big miss in that Aston Villa midfield. However, we did see last week that the youngster Rogers seemed to be taking the league by storm, and he could potentially come in for Douglas Luiz and do a job, or the steady Tillemans could also slot in to that position as well. And we know the quality that Tillemans possess. On any given day, he can really take the game by the scruff of his neck. So Aston Villa does have the attacking threat. The question is, can the defense step up and keep this Arsenal team at bay? Arsenal, the league top scorers, they have been firing goals, and they have several players who can come up with the goods. Kai Havertz have been on fire of late, and he will be looking to get on the score sheet in this one. Saka seem to be overworked at the moment, Christoph, by Arteta. What's your take on that? How do you think Arteta is really managing Saka and his minutes?
Definitely, I think Saka is playing too many minutes, and I'm probably expecting him to start on the bench in this game. Especially because we've
That
seen
would
where
be a
teams.
shock. That would be a very bold decision, Christoph. I mean, the fans could easily turn
No,
Saka on the bench.
I think Saka might be on the bench for this game. I think it's possible that he might not start just because, like we said, we've seen where teams have been targeting him and putting two, three, four players on him. So he might start on the bench and then come into the game at halftime or around the 50, 60 minute, 68-minute mark. But I think there will be some changes to the starting lineup that played against Bayern Munich. For majority of the team, we could probably pick the starting lineup for Arsenal.
Indeed,
It,
I don't really see many changes taking place. Maybe one, maybe a Trossard or a Martinelli comes in for Trossard, but I really don't see Saka starting at the bench, Christoph. He has been the go-to guy for Arsenal all season. He has been the workhorse. Arteta, he's like the first name on the team sheet playing every minute of every game. So it's hard to see him being rested in such a game of this magnitude against a quality opponent, a top six team, so to speak. I mean, Aston Villa have been in the top six all season. So it would be rather shocking and rather eye-opening if Saka was to start this one on the bench.
um, I still maintain what I said. It might be shocking, but I think it might be best to start Saka on the bench and you make some
So
tactical
who would
tweaks.
you bring in for Saka? I mean, no one has really been playing right right wing all season. It has been Saka, and Saka sub bring on Saka. It has been
Uh,
Saka on the right wing all season for Arsenal. Who even plays that position in the Arsenal squad, Christophe? Do
well,
we even know?
we've seen a number of players deputize when subbed on or in games where Saka has been rested. In the few games that Saka has been rested, we've seen Reece Nelson, Fabio Vieira, we've seen Trossard, and we've seen Martinelli. So I'd be expecting per potentially Martinelli, Trossard, or Nelson. Last time Saka was rested, we did see where Nelson started, and if I recall, he did create one of the goals. Um, was it against Luton some weeks ago? Two or so weeks ago,
I don't
or
see it,
last
Christophe.
week?
I don't see that move materializing. Arteta is not gonna it's not even it's not even being considered in my opinion. I mean, Saka, Mr. Reliable. No way. Saka is the first name on that Arsenal team sheet, and it would be very shocking and surprising if he was not starting in that game versus Aston Villa, where the rotation seems to be coming, Christoph, is on the left wing, the opposite side, or in that number 9 position. Kai Havertz seemed to have made that position his own, even pushing Jesus out to the flanks, as we saw in that game versus Manchester City. So Kai seemed to have cemented his place in the mind of Arteta. And it's really that left flank which seemed to be getting all the rotation. Martinelli, it's almost being shared between three players, Martinelli, Trossard, and Jesus at times. And of course, the number 9 position. Even Nketiah, where is Nketiah, Christoph? Does he still play for Arsenal or has he been sent out on loan?
No, he still plays for Arsenal. Um, here's it. I believe, right now, all right, right now, Kai Havertz is holding down that nine spot, but that is because of uh Havertz is playing a kind of what I would say is a hybrid Reimditer role at the moment for Arsenal.
So
He's
like
there
a
to
false
facilitate.
nine.
No, not Reimditer is not quite like a false nine.
Well,
A,
explain it to our viewers and subscribers because for me, it's the first time I'm hearing that term. I'm not
so
often stunned by terms, but it's the first time I'm hearing that. Is that German?
Yes, it's German, the rough. There's no English equivalent for it, but it's described as, a space investigator. It's the role that Thomas Muller plays for Bayern Munich, right?
Mm.
He basically this is a player who is expected to just roam around the pitch anywhere needed to find space, and whether that be they can get a goal or get an assist is fine, but their role is just finding space and helping the play. They're not necessarily involved as much in general, but because I said Kai Havertz is playing a bit of a hybrid Reimditer, he is more involved than what you would expect from a normal Reimditer. Thomas Muller. Thomas Muller
Mm.
is usually not as involved in the play, but he does pop up with a lot of goals and assists. So that is kind of what is happening with Kai Havertz
Oh,
at the
so
moment.
so Muller would be, what should I say, the face of a Ryan Diter, so to speak.
Right,
He's like the textbook Ryan Diter. Is there any
right,
other
right.
player which plays that role in global football currently
Not at the
outside of
moment.
Muller?
No, just Muller. Muller is the only player that plays that role. Um, I guess, technically you could
Mm.
probably say maybe Messi now plays that role.
Oh, well, I mean, Messi has always been, I mean, played some sort of free role. Maybe the term free role is more familiar with our viewers and subscribers. However, oftentimes the free role is oftentimes given to a midfielder. In this case, you're saying the free role is more given to a forward in the form of Kai Havertz, you're saying, or a Muller
Right.
for Bayern
So,
Munich.
yeah, right. So normally you would kind of give this role out to a winger, a wide player, where there's a lot of space usually on the flanks, right? You
Mm.
wouldn't give it to a center forward, right? It's in
Well,
a
it
way.
seems like you're giving our viewers and subscribers some homework there, Christoph. Ryan Dita. Ah,
Yeah,
for me,
one brighter.
I'm gonna have to rely on Google to see what's going on and see if I can come up with any other player who or any other team which employ a similar tactic. But you're saying Kai Havertz therefore should start against Aston Villa then, Christoph?
I would be expecting him to start against Aston Villa. I would probably expect. Well, I think Martinelli is very good. You know, given that his form has been, you know, a bit up and down this season, I would be expecting Jesus to probably start on the left. Trossard has been so brilliant coming off the bench. You know, I do think Arsenal need to find a way to play him more, but I would start Jesus on the left. Um, we might see Jorginho getting benched and Partey starting. Might not, might. So that one, we do know, you know, Raya will start in goal. We'll have Ben White, Saliba, and Gabriel, and then that left back spot. I think there is that possibility that you know anybody could start there. Tomiyasu, I would go with Tomiyasu or Kivior. However, I don't think Zinchenko should start this game because I fully expect Emery would try and exploit the weakness on the left hand side if that were the case.
So a Leon
Um,
Bailey could come into sharp focus there then, Christoph.
right, that is what we would be seeing if Zinchenko started that game. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he does start, but that is what we saw in the reverse picture as well, where Aston Villa did focus that left side of the pitch. I don't recall. I don't recall Arteta beating Emery. You know, we know Arsenal got beaten in the Europa League a couple of years ago by my Emery team. They got beat by Aston Villa earlier this season. You know, this is a game that they must win, you know, whatever the cost. This game must be one you need to keep the tight. You need to maintain that top spot and push on towards getting, you know, that title.
So pretty much they have to take the game to Aston Villa then, Christoph. I mean, the longer Aston Villa remain in this game, then chances are the more space that should open up for them to therefore exploit with the likes of Leon Bailey, the speedy Diaby, and inform Watkins, and of course the captain talisman in the form of Muggin. So this game may very well play into Aston Villa hand, and of course with the brilliant tactics of Emery as well, as you clearly pointed out that he has bettered Arteta on a number of occasions thus far. Can this Arsenal team be beaten by Aston Villa again? Is the question. Therefore,
I mean, the game is being played at the Emirates, so regardless, we're expecting Arsenal to take the game to the opposition. We're not expecting, for the most part, we haven't seen where Arsenal has sat back and defended, you know, any opposition. We've only seen where that was the case, perhaps against, you know, a Man City, but that was more a tactical battle between two teams. But Arsenal has gone for the kill, so to speak, against every opposition this season. So that is what I'm expecting here. Again, Arsenal don't think this Arsenal team don't see any opposition as being better than them or being able to get the better of them at the moment. That doesn't mean that you know your opposition can come with a game plan prepared to beat you. Arsenal are
definitely, I
just
mean, this Aston Villa team has been playing well for the most part all season. And, as I said, this is the first time you could say a bit of pressure is they are being faced in terms of that top four position. Spurs is ahead of them, and they too will be looking for a win also. However, they will know in the back of their mind that, Spurs have three of the big teams coming up in consecutive game week. They have to face Liverpool, Arsenal, and also Man City in successive weeks. So possibly that could play on the mind of this Aston Villa team also, where, but I'm sure they will be approaching this one to look for maximum points. But Christoph, in terms of the scoreline, what says you in terms of the scoreline in this game?
at the moment I'm going to go with 2-0 Arsenal.
2-0 for the Arsenal. So Arsenal to keep another clean sheet against this red hot Aston Villa team. Ah, I would have to disagree on that. I am gonna go on a limb in this one, whether out of hope and call this one a draw down the middle. I'm gonna go with a 2-2 draw. In this one, Christoph, I think Aston Villa may very well take the lead in this one. Aston Villa
I mean,
may go ahead and hold out for me a 2-2 draw.
While Aston Villa has, won their Europa League game, not Europa League, Conference League game, what was it, 2-1? Aston Villa has only won one of their last five in the Premier League. So I'm expecting, a similar run to continue, especially playing against this brilliant Arsenal team at the moment.
Indeed, indeed. I don't doubt that will happen. The ball is round. But for me, I'm still hoping that a little upset can take place in the EPL race, and it's not as straightforward where teams are just reeling off wins after wins after wins. But there's a little hiccup here or there, and I am hoping that Aston Villa will provide somewhat of a hiccup in this one versus Arsenal. So I'm gonna stick with my call and calling this one a scoring draw. I think they may very well get on the score sheet in this one versus what you could classify as a very good Arsenal defense. They are the top defensive unit in the league in terms of goals conceded. So keeping a clean sheet is not beyond the realm of possibility, but with a red hot Watkins, with a rapid fire Bailey, and with the pace of a Diaby and the guile of a Magin, I do believe they have enough firepower to get a goal or two in this one. But quickly, Christoph, any final thoughts?
Looking forward to this weekend. Hopefully there are no twists and turns for Arsenal this weekend. And it's business as usual, racking up the win.
Well, there you have it, viewers and subscribers, the thoughts of Christoph. Please, viewers and subscribers, continue to share, continue to like, and of course, leave your comments in the comment section. Another weekend of some exciting football matches really coming up on the weekend. Liverpool on Saturday and Arsenal on Sunday. But viewers and subscribers, there you have it. Until next time, this is Rafa signing off.